Customer Service Award for highest client ratings, D Magazine's Best Realtor, 5-star Professional Award, and several other recognitions for her success and service to clients. Join her each week as she meets with the top community influencers to help you get to know the area you want to call home. Don't just love your home, love your community. And now, here's your host, Kimberly Woodard.
Good afternoon, guests. I am so excited about today's episode. Well, it's a little bit different. So today's has a little twist to it where I am going to be the guest, and my dear friend and owner of the studio, Jeff Crilley, is going to interview me for my last episode of 2019. I cannot believe it. We're coming to an end.
Well, and I'm thrilled to interview. It's an honor because you're my wife's best friend.
Yes.
You sold us our house,
Yes.
which it's our dream house.
Yay.
And I just want to preface this by saying that Kimberly is the most patient realtor ever, because for a whole year, it took us a year to find the house, maybe longer.
Yeah.
And there are pictures of me somewhere with me folding my arms like this on almost every showing. So I don't know how you dealt with me for a year, but we found this amazing home, and you were so patient. I can't recommend her more highly. She's just amazing as a realtor.
I remember that time when we walked in. I walked in a few minutes before, and I ran and checked to see if it had this little room because Victoria wanted to build her dream closet.
Yes.
And I ran in the master because I knew there was an exercise room, and I was like, please have this connected to the master. And it was. And I was like, yes! I was like, it is it. So I opened the door. I'm like, this is your house. This is it. This is it.
and I fell in love with it instantly. And she didn't push me towards it. It was just, she always lets her customers make her.
It was the perfect house. You had your man cave and her closet.
It was perfect. So if I may, I'll conduct this interview because
Yes.
I want your audience to get to know you. I mean, they know you a little bit through the show, but I want them to really get to know you. So why did you become a realtor?
Why did I become? So, my passion has always been homes. And growing up, I had a best friend when I was younger where her dad was a builder, ironically. And so I grew up going to building sites. Now you won't let your kid go to a new construction without a hard hat. We were, playing in the wood and all this framing. And I was just intrigued. Of course, her house always had, all the sample books. So at that time, back in the 80s, there was, wallpaper sample books, there was carpet. And I was just fascinated with that. Also, my dad was a lender and did a lot of financing for developers. So as a kid, he'd always take me to all the newest developments. And so I was always seeing the new construction, the new homes. There was just something about it. And I just fell in love with that. But ironically, that's not what I thought I was going to do when I went to college. When I went to college, I thought I was going to, my first major was pre-med.
Wait, were you going to be a doctor?
I was actually looking at being a physical therapist.
Cool.
And that first semester in college of a load of sciences classes, biology, chemistry, labs.
Yeah.
I changed to business the second semester.
Well, it seems like you're perfectly cut out for this because you're outgoing, you never meet a stranger, and you really like people.
I do. What's so fun with my job is that I meet people every day. And as my clients, I end up gaining a new friend every time. And so it's fun to get to know people. I end up getting to know their family. There's always, their parents or, the kids, just everyone. And, also as I grow, I've had clients where they've bought their first home and no kids to expanding. And then, and I've had the reverse where we've, had to, maybe we're downsizing for someone or, there is life things that happen and, we have to do those different challenges along the way. But I just feel like, it's not just a client, it's a new friend.
Yes. Do you find yourself becoming almost a therapist? Because typically when you're moving, it's a life-changing decision. and it could be divorce, it could be the death of a spouse, right? I mean,
there's a lot. Right. I mean, I feel like I wear a lot of hats. So I listen, and that was one thing, I will say my husband will say I'm not a good listener, but that's at home. But as for my clients, that's what I do. I don't do a lot of talking. I do a lot of listening, and you have to. You listen to what they really want. As we're going through the process and we're looking at homes, I'll listen to both of them. If there's a couple or if it's just one person, what's important to them. And sometimes they won't say that in our consultation meeting, but it comes out as we're touring the home, what really that continuous, thing that they mention that they don't even know sometimes that is really important to them. And then, during the process, sometimes they just have to vent. And I'm like, come on, let it out. Let's let it out. Because it's emotional. This is the biggest financial decision that most people ever make in their lives. And, whether you're a first-time home buyer or this is your 10th home, it's emotional.
Yes.
And I will say it can be even emotional. People don't think of it for your investors, but even for your investors, am I making the right investment? So.
Well, I applaud you because I think as a business owner, you take a long-term approach to your business. You're not there trying to make a quick sale. Because if you tried to make a quick sale and got somebody into a home that they didn't absolutely love or they couldn't afford, you wouldn't get their repeat business and you wouldn't get their brother, sister, uncle, aunt, son, daughter.
Right. And what I've always said is that I want to go visit you, a couple of weeks later after you get settled in. And I want you to be excited about your home. And even the next year, excited. If I go there and you're like, oh, gosh, why did I buy this house? Then I didn't do my job.
Right.
So sometimes, I'll even have my clients, especially my relocation clients that don't, really know the area. We'll look at different areas and I'll take them outside the box just to maybe, make sure that that's not the area that they want. So, they may say, from friends or coworkers, because, whenever you're saying you're going to move, everyone has an opinion to give you. Everyone, from your parent, family members to colleagues will all say, oh, you should live here or you should live here. So sometimes it's good to just go and explore that and then be able to weed that out and it's not sitting there in your mind going, gosh, would I have liked it or not?
Let's talk about the in every business there's a victory, there's a win. Okay. When you find that perfect home for that couple and their eyes shine and they hug you, what does that feel like?
It's great because, it's not just a house, it's not just a structure, it's a place where these people are going to develop and bring memories there. And so that's why the whole process is emotional, is because you're not just doing this to, it's not like a car purchase. A car you buy, you use, and you turn in. A home, you are living day to day, your day-to-day actions, your holiday events, you're having your friends over, you're just building memories in that place. And so even when people are selling, it is emotional, even though they may be excited of where they're going. There is that emotional part. I even got teary-eyed when I moved. And my husband was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I was excited about the new place. And, we had already, bought and renovations were all underway. But that was the house that we bought as a couple. That was the house that I brought both my boys home in. And so, we had birthdays and just all kinds of celebrations, and those things are going through your head as, oh my goodness, I can't, those memories.
I get it. So. Now, were you, when I was growing up, my parents took a pencil and marked our height. Did you do that with your boys?
I didn't, but I've had clients do that, and I've had them take that, part of the door frame, and I had one where we took it and I ended up shipping it to her. It was the most expensive piece ever. And her husband, I think, was just floored because by the time we shipped that and had it fixed, I just said it was a priceless piece of art.
I love it. Well, let's give the audience a chance to get to know you better in terms of your show. Many of your viewers have been watching you for, can you believe it, a year. You've been doing this for a year.
I know. It's so amazing.
And I'm so proud of you because I think, have really grown as a broadcaster. I mean, you didn't, unlike myself who came up in television news, you didn't have that kind of life experience. But I think your show is an amazing show because you really ask questions that I think the average person at home would be asking. I loved your interview with Kelly Raspberry and the mayor. And you've done some amazing interviews.
We've had fun, and it's been fun to have different people in the community on the show, and also talk about different topics. Talk about whether it's an event that's going on at one of the area places, or a new restaurant, or just something new to really educate everyone about the community. Because again, like my motto, it's not don't just love your home, love your community.
I think that's wonderful. Do you find yourself looking forward to the next episode and who you're going to interview?
I do. It's fun because again, I learn something from every interview. Whatever the topic is. Mm-hmm. And even if it's a topic that I'm familiar with or a guest, I learned something new. So,
well, tell me this. How much show prep do you do? Because Larry King notoriously never did any show prep. If he was interviewing somebody, he never read the book or did any research, didn't even do a Wikipedia, because he said that he wanted to ask the question that the average person would ask, and he didn't want to be too smart. On the other end of the spectrum is somebody like Barbara Walters, who apparently studies for weeks and weeks and weeks before an interview. How much show prep do you do?
Honestly, I don't do that much. I think of what the questions that I want to, that would be interesting, and that I want to find out. And I feel like if I want to find out, probably my viewers want to know those questions. I do, look up, their credentials of my guest. I want to just like I'm sure they do that to me. I know I get that looked at before I go for an interview for being someone's realtor, but I really want to know about what their whatever it is, whether again the vet. But I try and just the highlights and kind of do. So I would say maybe the night before I, go through a little bit of what I'm about to embark on.
Well, you can't tell that you don't do a lot of show prep because the shows are, I think that they flow really nicely. Yeah. And I think a great show is just a conversation over cocktails.
Yes,
in our
cocktails.
Case, now we should tell the audience there is no booze in here.
No, it's mocktails.
which may be the first time that Kimberly and I have been together without an alcoholic beverage. So cheers to the show. So, highlight from this past year in terms of shows. Was there a favorite episode for you?
I don't think I had a true favorite because they were all so interesting. I learned so much from each one of them, and from anywhere from decorating. I will say my holiday. I used my tip, the tip that I got from Dalen on putting collections together. So when I got all my nutcrackers out the other day, I collected them, and I have so many that I had to put a few. So I put my kitchen ones, my chef ones in the kitchen, but everyone else is kind of gathered on this great, display table, and they look so cute.
So everybody makes their goals for the next year. What are your goals for next year? You're very successful. I think I would put you in the 1% of realtors in Collin County. I don't know if statistically that's true, but it seems like you make all the lists.
I do. I'll give
and there's
myself a pat.
There's a reason for that, and a lot of people. Let's talk about how difficult it is to be a realtor, because I think a lot of people watch $1 Million Listing and they're like, oh, that's easy to make a big commission, and all you have to do is show houses. It's tough.
It is tough, and the one thing, and this blows everyone's mind, and it'll probably blow my viewers, but I really have no clue half the time, what my income is for that year or that quarter. Of course, my office manager will send me usually every quarter where I hit, but I don't pay attention to it half the time. And I know that sounds bizarre because people are like, okay, how does she live on a budget? We take that B word out of my vocabulary. But it's because I'm so passionate. I think of each client, you can say it's a transaction, but each client is its own entity. And I really don't even think about the money part. I think about helping them. And that's my focus. And so I am there to be their advocate. So when I'm negotiating the deal, I'm their advocate. When we're doing the inspections, when we're negotiating repairs, whoever I'm coming in contact through during that transaction, I am the advocate for my client. And that's what I keep focused on. And so I think that contributes to the success that I have, and that I'm not really driven. So, dollar signs is driven to make those clients happy. And, and I'll look at my clients and I'll say, hey, okay, if you want this, then I'll push for it. But if not, then, maybe let's go to something else. Because I'll have clients that'll be like, well, let's just throw an offer out there. That one I'm not as excited about. But then something else, they'll be like, I really, really want this, and let's figure out how we can get this done.
Cool.
So,
well, I love it as a customer that you don't play games.
No.
So one of the classic realtor tricks, if you will, is show them two houses that they wouldn't like, and then show them the more expensive house that you really want them to go into. You never play those games.
No, I show my clients what they want. Now, of course, if I find something, I'm going to be like, hey, let's go look at this. And sometimes it is that out of the box. I had a client, I brought her and her husband to something that was outside the box. I said it was not what, and they actually did they liked it. They were like, we would have never thought in even looking at this online, just kind of bypassed it. But I got them to go inside it and just say, take a look at it. It has a lot of the attributes that you guys are really looking for. So,
do you still remember your first sale?
I do. I remember my first listing. And so my first listing, I was showing a client and the house next door, and a guy comes out and says, oh, well, I'm going to have my house for sale. Would you like to come look at it? My client, knowing that I, had just started, literally I had just started. And she was like, let's go in. You may get this listing. So we go in, and it didn't work for her. She ended up buying in a different city anyways. This was Allen, and we ended up landing her in Frisco. But I walked in, then I re-met with the guy the next morning and got the listing. And he knew I was new, but he liked my energy.
That's true. You're very charming. It also helps that you know the lay of the land. Kind of born and raised in Collin County, you've probably watched it really grow.
I have, and so that's what's amazing to see everything that's happened here, and seeing things that was dirt now. It's now all these buildings, and watching the different cities emerge over the time. I remember when Frisco was just dirt, and it was farmland all the way up to Maine. So I just aged myself.
Don't you wish you had taken a little bit of money and bought some land in Preston Road area?
Sometimes there's different areas, but I was like, at that time, I didn't have any money. Well, we have one more question for me. I know you guys are dying for that.
Okay, one more question. Well, we started to talk about goals for 2020.
Okay.
It's the Roaring 20s.
Yes.
Can you believe we're just weeks away from a completely new decade?
That's so fun.
And the Roaring 20s of the last century was a time of great exuberance, and
Yes.
I hope the same is true of this next decade. What are your goals for 2020?
My goals for 2020 is I always like to try and beat whatever I've accomplished this year. I do look at my end of the year stats, and then what I can do next. So for 2019, it was doing this show. As for 2020, I haven't decided exactly. Yet it's still, I still have less than 30 days to decide. I would say January 1, I put my goal down and I start with dry January.
Well, I'm going to propose that we celebrate New Year's together, and
Yay.
you and Victoria get in flapper dresses like the Roaring Twenties, and I'm going to get one of those kind of loud suits, zoot suits, I think they called it, right?
Yes, it's all about fun for 2020. That's what I think. I think that's what it is. It's all about fun and living life to its fullest.
I love it. As you close every show with the toast.
Yes, cheers.
Here's to an amazing 2020.
Yay.
Thanks for tuning in to Community Cocktails with Kimberly. If you'd like to contact Kimberly with your real estate needs, you can reach her at kimberlywoodard.ebby.com. Hope you enjoyed our guests this week. Tune in every first and third Wednesday of the month for insights from industry leaders in your DFW area. Remember, don't just love your home, love your community.